I don't know. Let's see what's going on. Let's give this a try.
I read the news today, a two-bit expose of the same old story that I heard yesterday. Yeah, goes the headlines, man. They all just go to plan. They're framed and fixed and rigged, and you know they're all just spam. So buckle down, look right in. It crawls its way under your skin. Just got by the things they spout, and you should give me that good news. Because I'm tired of the same old shit.
Yes. We are tired of that same old shit right here. 21-6 the net. Welcome to the grounds. You've got Giles and Jones. Well, no Giles. Just Jones in studio this morning. We'll try to bring back Giles. Let's see if we can add him to the stream, see what's going on. We'll hang on to him as long as we can. Yeah, let's do some. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, good morning, everybody. I'm obviously probably going to check in and out on you, unfortunately, but I'll do my best to give you my knowledge.
There we go. Scott, of course, on his way doing a little business. He's having a little bit of fun being chauffeured, of course. All right there. Good morning, Ted.
That don't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Ted, good morning. Great. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning, everybody. Come back, Scott. Of course, in the comments it is the link that you can join this show, the unique show. And don't worry, if you've got crappy internet, you'll be hanging out with Scott in the crappy internet zone. But as Uncle Pete says, hey, right there, StreamYard.com, just, do this. Join us. Today, we're talking about you can't handle the truth, nor do you want the truth. And of course, it's brought to you through our good friends over at Fantasy Factory right here in Illinois. April Fool's Day this morning. So you're hanging out with two April Fools. It's a apostrophe, yes. It's not more than one. Check out Fantasy Factory at McHenry, Illinois, right here. So Fantasy Factory, McHenryIL.com, 815-385-7399, and have a little bit of fun. Spice up your life. It's a good thing. Scott, you can't handle the truth. What's that about?
No, I can't handle the truth. I'm not sure that anybody really can these days. Everyone's just kind of accepting what they want to and not really wanting to accept the truth or want to know the truth of really what's kind of going on and a lot in the world, right? I mean, some people just want to remain ignorant to really what's happening and what's going on behind the scenes with everything that's going on in our big blue marble.
Well, I think that I think everybody, there's a lot of people out there, you being one of them, who search for the truth. And let's take a look at some things. And we're not going to get into politics or things like that. Just we're gonna bring up generalities. And let's start with. We go back to the latest election here in the United States. Oh, it was stolen. It was this. It was that. Everybody's doing something. There are things going on about the quote unquote insurrection on the 6th. There are things happening in the Ukraine. People are looking for the truth. They want, tell me the truth. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You don't want to know the truth. You think you do, but you don't want to know the truth. Why? Because you can't handle it. What are you going to do when you get it? Then what? Right? So
I think people get really upset. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're in a patch where we can hear you.
I was going to say, I think, like you're saying, people want to know the truth, but when they actually get it, it's not what they think, or it's way worse than what they think, and it just sends them into overload. And I think a lot of people would just rather, in our world, would rather kind of be candy coated in a way, right? I mean, because if they really knew what our governments were doing, and like we say, we're not really doing politics, but with this episode, we kind of have to dive a little bit into politics, dance around it, so to speak. But and that's okay. And I mean, this is not political views. This is really the truth. I mean, nobody really wants to know what our government is doing behind the scenes because, everyone's already negative enough with what's going on in the world. If they really knew the real full truth of what's happening, I mean, oh my God, could you imagine, Kent, what was be going on in our world? Just the uprise alone.
Well, let's take a look at something, and we'll just use the Americas for instance. Take a look at what a president looks like going into. No, don't use Biden. And Biden is not a good example. He is already way too old, right? But take a look at all the presidents, and they say that when you're the president of the United States, you age twice as fast as most people. So you go in looking young and spry, and you come out not the same guy. So you come out looking not like the same person. So I think the truth hurts, man, and that's just the bottom line. The truth hurts. Coach, how are you? Grab a seat. I can switch cameras. We can roll over there. Wherever. And you going orange, Mike, over there? Yeah. All right. We got Coach just rolled up in studio. So here's the deal is the truth hurts, and the truth doesn't necessarily won't set you free. I mean, I think if you are after the truth, you'll be shocked. You won't know what to do. And there you are. Shayna, good morning. Shayna says, can't find the truth if we can't define the truth. I tapped out at what is a woman? Interesting. And Ted says the truth is we live in a lot more controlled environment than we know, a lot more dangerous than what we know, and a lot less truthful world than we know.
Thanks for that insight, Ted.
Absolutely, right? Ted. Yeah, I agree 100% with Ted. For sure. It's one of those things that people don't really realize that, the amount of control.
All the world is a stage. We are merely players, right? So, Gary, the truth
the last 2 years.
Slap, I guess. Go ahead. You are pixelated and in and out, Scott. So if I'm talking over you, tough shit.
That's okay.
That's the truth.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like for sure, the last 2 years have been just a humongous, change and loss of more control of what we can and can't do, and there, and people don't even realize.
Well, I don't see, and here's the thing, where I will say you're wrong is loss of more control. No, bull hockey. You think you've had it. You've never had it. Not here in America. People across the world have the same freedoms. They've got the same freedoms, right? So the bottom line is this, and Scott, I know you're not here to defend yourself, and you're in and out of of earshot. But the bottom line is this perhaps is that you say question everything. Okay, what if the truth comes up? You going to question that too?
But if we don't know what the truth is, I mean, there's so much misdirection these days. You have 7 truths in 7 different newspapers and 7 different online news, 7 different perspectives. Is your perspective the truth? What is the real truth? Who was it, Ted or Shayna? One of them alluded to that earlier. And just what's real? Do we know what's real? The truth is what we accept as the truth. Yeah, Scott, you're really bouncing in and out, but
yeah, we may have to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's,
all right. I'm just coming over here.
Please do.
Yeah.
Join me.
Look, speak.
What,
just
So yeah,
Well,
I mean
clearly,
that's the thing is what is the truth, and what there is 7 different truths depending on who you hear it from, where you listen to, what news media you get it from, um, and it's deciphering that, and that's why for me questioning everything is, you know, is that really the full truth? It might
You
not
don't.
be.
You couldn't handle the truth. It'd kill you.
In some respects, you're absolutely right, Kent. I mean, and there's a lot of people that don't want to know the truth. They just want to live in their own reality and live the life what they're believing. And in some respects, that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, um, if they can keep their head high by believing something that's really probably not the real truth, but they're doing what they need to do, and they're being a good citizen, they're a good American, so to speak. I'm okay with that, because I think some people, if they do get the truth, are just going to fall off the deep end, right?
but let's take a deeper look at it, and it's what really the problem is. The Democratic truth is not what the Republican truth is not what the independent truth is. When we look at the political nature of this country, when we look at just in the families, in our homes, the teenage truth is not the adult truth, is not the grandparent truth. I mean, what is the truth? And I like what Kent said. If we really got the truth, I don't think any of us could handle it.
Right. Shanna says truth is subjective and
No,
personal. Perception is reality. As they say. I don't think truth is subjective and personal.
Not the real truth.
I think truth is truth.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, so
Right.
so let's use gravity for example. You don't have to believe in gravity, but step off of a 3-story building. Well, gravity doesn't exist. Well,
the truth is
okay.
that gravity does exist when you hit the ground, right?
Well, just before you hit the ground, right? So truth is truth, right? And that's just the truth.
The absolute truth. So help me God.
Right. Gary says, knowing too much will kill you. So how much must you know to avoid that? Exactly.
And I was at a conference on ecumenicals, and these guys who were and Catholics in a conversation, and these guys were all brilliant up on the stage, and they're tying everything together, and then the questions coming out were incredible, and then the microphone passed by me, but I couldn't let it pass without saying something. And I asked these gentlemen who were brilliant scholars, biblical scholars. I said, I've read somewhere, and one of you can tell me what chapter and book it's in, that in order to enter the gates of heaven, you must have the faith of a child. So I ask you, with all of your knowledge, you still have the faith of a child. And the truth is, none of them can answer that. Because when we learn too much in any given area, we feel we become the expert in that area, and we stop learning. But there was, I forget who it was, but one man said, it's what I learned after I knew everything that made the difference. And when we stop learning, we don't really ever grasp what the truth is.
The truth destroys people. The truth destroys lives.
Yep.
The truth hurts, right? And understand what I'm saying is this. Let's say that I think that I think that Alice is cheating on me. So
Now we're talking about cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Call the show cheaters. They'll give you the truth.
So I hire a private investigator to follow her and watch what she does and dig into her burner phone or whatever, right? And all of a sudden, I find out that she's not cheating on me, and that's the truth. She's not. But the truth now has ruined my relationship. Why? Because she may go, you had a what follow me? You don't trust me? You do. The truth is, the truth will kill you.
Yeah.
If you know the truth, it ruins lives, it ruins people, and trust me, you don't want to know the truth. So people who are out there, Lisa, good morning. People who are out there saying, yeah, like Scott, question everything. And, hey, what happened to QAnon? Where did he go? 4 years, the truth was QAnon knew everything.
Yeah, he went out of office on January 6th.
Right? So what happened to that truth? Okay. The problem is, Ted says that there is one truth in every situation. We as humans choose to interpret or our perceived truth, which then makes it hard to see the real truth. Interesting.
That's kind of deep, but again, you just justify what we're saying. Perceived truth means you take all of your life experiences, everything that's round up in your neocortex, and apply it to the situation at hand, and then you have what you're calling your truth. But is that the truth? What would you define as the real truth? What is truth that you're talking? What is this truth that's going to kill us?
The truth of any whatever you're digging into, right? The truth is the way that you live your life is killing you at a faster pace than if you were to live it a different way. The truth is that all the world's a stage and we are merely players. We're puppets in a game of life that the powers that be, New World Order, whatever the case may be, however you look at it, are pulling the strings and design. I mean, let's take a look at the Oscars for a second. There was an incident on the Oscars.
Really? What was it?
Oh, and by the way, brought to you through the financial support of Pfizer and biotech, right? Interesting. Huh.
All that money.
Okay. So all of a sudden there's a quote unquote incident at the Oscars, which was obviously staged.
Oh, no.
But we've got the world up in, not the world, but the world up in arms with what purebred Will Smith did to Chris Rock. Yet, we never cut away. We were able to dump the F word here in the Americas. We knew exactly what was happening, nor was he escorted out. Was there any, that was an assault.
Clearly.
Unquote, right? So,
video evidence.
The truth is now, where do you go and say, when that comes out to say, yeah, it was all staged? And you go, man, why did I get so riled up about that? Well, interestingly enough, what'd they say on Monday morning? On Monday morning, we forgot all about what was happening in Ukraine. And all of a sudden it was, hey, the CDC says it's okay to take your 4th injection. Oh, wait a minute. I was concerned about the world war going on. And then I didn't even tune into a show brought to you through the financial support of Pfizer and biotech. And next thing I know, on the news all day is, hey, it's safe. And look, there's the president of these here United States getting an injection. See how good it is, folks?
Well, David Copperfield is the new advisor to the president. So
yeah, right.
Right.
Truth
well, I
kills?
mean, they're redirecting you. They're misdirecting you, right?
I don't know.
This is interesting. And Lisa says, and Pfizer supposedly has come up with an alopecia treatment.
Oh, well,
so isn't that interesting?
Shana K says, truth kills. I'm having trouble jumping on your thought process. Please reframe it so I can try harder. Yes. Hey, Jen, good morning. So here's, it's like the Wizard of Oz. There's,
pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Her truth was a golden road with a scarecrow and a lion talking to me, with midgets running around freaking everybody out and flying monkeys. That was her truth.
Her truth was she was on acid.
Perhaps listening to The Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Yes, and the drug has been successful in the 3rd stage trials. There you go for alopecia. Interesting. So, anywho, here's the deal. When I say truth kills, it ruins lives, okay? It kills things. If you were to understand the briefings that the president of the United States get, that world leaders get on how the world operates, your life would be ruined. It will never be the same. If you see that truth, it will never be the same. So your life is, as you know it, no longer exists. Doesn't
Right.
mean
And
that you may stop breathing.
And that's where
Right.
a lot of people want to remain. A lot of people, even though they say they want to know, they want to remain ignorant. And that's why they say ignorance is bliss, right? Because then you're believing what you want to believe, and you're just saying,
I disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, can't say that.
They don't want to be ignorant. They're falling for the smoke and mirrors. How many times
no.
have you gotten have you gotten a Facebook post or something about, hey, the president wore blue underwear, and you're like, oh, the president wears blue underwear, you know, and the next thing you're telling everybody else, the president wears blue underwear, and then, you know, later somebody else catches up and says, oh, the president never wore blue underwear. Nobody knows what the president wears. But we fall into these traps all the time.
Yeah.
There's, you know, they circulate these things that I can't even think of one right now, but we get caught in it, and then 3 or 4 days after we've shared it with the world, because we get so caught up in this hype, and then the truth comes out. Glenowitz, the cop over in Fox Lake, the guy, you know, the guy was a friend of mine. I knew him every time, you know, we ran into him for coffee or whatever. We swapped military stories, and it's a good guy. When he first went down, man, I was hot, and I was jumping on the bandwagon to do whatever
Looking
I could
for the
do.
people in the cornfield.
Right. And then the people in the cornfield was right by my house, and the cops are running through the area. And then it's about a week later, after all the procession, after all the cops from every city around came in, he said, well, no, it looks like this was a suicide. Oh, there's no way it was a suicide. And I had bought so deeply into the lie that it took me a while to understand the truth. And the truth hurt.
And you probably didn't, in reality, didn't want to know that truth because of how you've known him for so many years, right? And how you looked at him and how you viewed him. So now your reality has changed, knowing that he was the bad person that he was, right? I mean,
he wasn't a bad person.
He was misdirected.
What do you mean he wasn't a bad person?
He wasn't a bad person.
How can you say that?
He just made bad financial choices.
Really bad financial.
And he hurt a lot of people, so that doesn't make him a bad person?
No.
What does it make him?
Makes him human.
I'm sure, you know.
I mean, he arrested several people. He fought for our country. If his life would have ended right there, and it was a murder, would he have been a bad person?
No, but
see what I'm saying? The truth.
No, but what he did, the truth of what he did, the amount of people that his neglect, you know, or his wrongdoings hurt, you know, it's sad for sure. I mean, I appreciate everything that guy did for us as far as in the military and as far as a police officer, but you know, he took advantage of his status and his job, and you know, it hurt a lot of people. That truth hurts to people that, you know, kids. Think about the kids that looked up to that man, that he trained and taught. Now they're going, wait a minute, this guy told me to do this stuff, but turns out that he's nothing more than a liar and a cheat.
So they found out the truth. Interesting.
The truth. Right. And that really hurt some people. It probably hurt a lot of people.
When we were young, there was a little rhyme that said, oh, what a evil web we weave when at first we practice to deceive, and you get caught in that first one, and you know, and you get caught up, and then another lie, and then another lie, and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds, and then one day you get caught, right? All along the way, you know, you're a pretty good guy, and then, well, one day all the truth comes out, and when the truth comes out, it's not very nice. O.J. Simpson, you know, we could go on. Tiger Woods, you know, do we?
Talk about a guy with a driver.
Well, a lot of, you know, you think a lot of people are actually searching for the truth these days, and then when they find it, they don't, you know, like you say, they can't handle it, or they don't want to know it. They want to go back to not knowing what that truth was. You know, I mean, just like with everything we've got going on in the world right now, you know, let's just take, for example, I know we're not politics, but take, for example, this whole gas nightmare, right? They don't want to know the truth of why we're not using our own resources, right? I mean,
why is it a nightmare?
Well, the amount of money we're paying for one, that we're getting hammered,
Well,
to the fact that we have the largest supply of gas in our nation.
okay.
Right?
So you own several businesses, and your job is to make sure that everybody that uses your businesses get it for as little as possible, or are you in it to make money and you set your prices?
So that's a double-edged sword to a certain
Nope.
point, right? Obviously, I'm in business to make money.
Okay, so are the oil
I'm
companies.
also in business to give people a product at a fair price.
So are oil companies.
Do you tell
But
your
they're not in
customers?
they're not in
So the
business to give
customers.
you.
So your customers are the people who say what's fair.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Okay.
What they're willing to pay, and what
So
and
you
what
barter.
is
So
what
you
is
barter on
commonplace.
you barter on everything that you sell out of your stores.
I don't barter, no, but I use it. I
Or
use.
you dicker. If I come in and I say, listen, I only have $3, but I want that vibrator that's $45, you'd go, okay, sounds good, because that's a fair price to you, Kent.
Well, no, that's
No.
not capitalism at its best.
Oh, okay. But it's okay. So it's okay if you set prices that I don't like, but it's not okay if the oil companies do.
Well, you can't really compare me to that, because,
Well,
right? I don't have my own source. I buy from somebody else, and I do the typical markup that any other consumer or any other company would do. There's a small markup to make your amount of money. The government, what they're doing is they're marking it up insanely through another country, which I'm sure we
I
have
don't
some
think the
type of
government
ties, and they're getting
prices,
money.
Yeah.
prices.
And where are you getting this truth from?
Yeah. There you go.
Where?
Yeah. How do you know they're marking it up and saying? I mean, if we don't like it, I don't like it. I'm not saying I like it.
Well,
I like. I'm going to share what Beth says to you, and then go back. She says, "I don't agree with the truth kills. I feel that the truth just exposes all the cover up. It changes your perception on things and people, but it points you in the right direction to live your life doing the right things. We live in a flawed world. We live in a flawed world. I just want to repeat that so people can get on board with it. But we can't just give up and live in a fog of ignorance."
I have many years of my life, Beth. It's always foggy in the morning.
That's why I have these fog lights on.
That's right. What does Bob say? If you say it enough times, whatever it is, it becomes the truth. Countries have been controlled by alternate truths. As Hitler said, give me your young and I will control the world.
And Lisa says, she comes right back to you, Scott. What are they willing to pay? Did you buy gas? Willing to pay and happy about it are not the same thing.
There you go.
I mean, you're obviously out driving, so you're willing to pay somebody to.
Unless that's an electric truck.
Well, there's certain choices I have to make every day. So, and this is a choice I make to do that. Am I happy with what I'm having to pay for it right now? No. And I bitch and I moan as much as I can to who I feel is the best people, like our senators. And what am I cutting out?
Yeah.
No, I apologize to the chauffeur there, because if she's in the argument box with you for a couple hours and all you're going to do is bitch and complain, I feel sorry for her.
She's actually over here shaking her head. She's shaking her head. She agrees.
Yeah, with me. I love her. That's why I love her.
Well, some days she agrees with you. Some days she agrees with me. You know, it's just the way it is. But, you know, when we have the largest reserves in the world of gas, and we're still buying from third world countries,
and could you give me
our patrons, our citizens are suffering from that.
Okay.
On top of everything else.
Okay, so again, where did you get the truth that we have the largest reserves in the world?
Well, it's been said for years that we have the largest.
He heard it on the internet.
Oh, so it's
no. I've heard it from a lot of different sources.
So the truth is what's been said.
Right.
As Bob says, as long as you say it enough times, it becomes truth. Right. So because it's been said for years, that's the truth.
Right. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I know what I've been told. If that's what they've been telling me for years, my question, I guess, then is why don't we use it if we can release so many more barrels and put a little bit?
So what happens?
More relief on the American citizen, because that's what That's what our wonderful president says he wants to do, is to, relieve us from this burden.
Okay, so first of all, president's got nothing to do with gas prices. Let's just lay that out
And,
there.
and just let me lay out a truth here. The number one oil reserve in the world is Venezuela, followed by Saudi Arabia, Canada, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Russia, Libya, Nigeria. United States is 11th on the list of oil reserves in the world.
Thank you, Google. All right.
Is that the truth? Or is what you're saying? I
Right.
mean,
so let's just stay on the gas thing. And Scott, you're leaning hard towards government regulation, government oversight. What happens to you where in your world when the truth comes out and it's just a bunch of rich oil guys smoking cigars going, I just want to make billions of dollars instead of millions of dollars? Then what? Who are you mad at then? If that is truth.
Well, the people that we're talking about, I'm sure in my mind, and obviously I've got a little bit different views than everybody, but I'm sure those people are connected directly to our government. I mean, you got to follow the money.
So if the truth comes out that it's just a bunch of rich oil tycoons who are trying to get richer, make more money, and control the world, you're still going to float and say, even though that's the truth, I don't think it's the truth. I'm still going to tie it back to the government because that's what I've been told all these years. When perhaps the government of the United States or the governments of the world have nothing to do with it.
You cut out there. I lost you for a second.
That's exactly right. Right. So Ted says what they're saying is the government sets a different set of business rules. Does the government give us choice on what the price is for our energy resources? Yes, energy in Illinois is deregulated, so you can choose to get energy at a lower cost. You can shop that out. So yeah, if you're in that one of those states,
if the government controls, like right now, this talk he did yesterday, where he's releasing 1 million gallons a day into the public sector to bring the price of gas down. And I only caught a few minutes of the president's talk, but he said it's going to bring the price down. Don't know if it's going to be 10 cents. Don't know if it's going to be 35 cents. Hey, dude, it needs to go back down $2. you know.
So let me ask you this, guys. What are they saying is the truth? That gas prices shot up through the roof. Why?
If we could figure that out, we would probably have the answer to a lot of things. But
so what did they say happened for us to end up paying $2 more a gallon?
Well,
with Russia, okay, so Russia and Ukraine are going at it. Why are we paying $2 more a gallon?
But didn't you hear that list of who's got the most reserves? The Ukraine.
I did hear that. I did hear that list.
Russia was right up there towards the top.
Yep.
So
okay, are we? But we don't buy specifically from Russia. We buy from all over the place, right? Okay. We have options. We have options of who we buy from and when we buy from them.
Scott, you're an investor also. Am I correct?
Correct.
What makes the stock market go up and down? Is it the actual value of the companies that are listed on the stock exchange, or is it a reaction by the investors?
It's a lot of different things there, Coach.
It's a reaction of the investors.
It's reaction. It's consumer confidence. It's availability. It's what scuttlebutt people are talking about out there. But a stock could be rocking and rolling this morning, and somebody put out a negative comment, and this shit falls right into the tank.
Right, but it doesn't change the value of the company. It changed the value of the stock. Right. The stock is driven by the attitude of the investors, not what the company is doing. Now, bad news comes out. Why does it affect the stock price? The attitude of the investors. Why did the price of gas go up? Because it was a reaction on the part of the investors. It had nothing to do with the actual price of it.
Or the amount that we have.
Exactly.
Or the reserves.
It's all about people, and it's all about truth.
But the truth of what's happening and why we're paying more is not being told. Right.
A friend of mine was a track coach in Crystal Lake.
They're giving.
And
They're
an allegation came out against him of sexual misconduct with a child, and his reputation was absolutely ruined. It came out several months later that this child was lying about everything because they got an F in his class. The truth is, he is a good man. He is a great coach, but his reputation, his ability to be hired was gone because a kid lied because they got a bad grade on an exam.
Yep.
The truth did not set him free. The truth is something he has lived with his entire life. I'm a good person, and my life has just gone. How many people are in prisons? How many people, their lives have been
7.
destroyed? So 7.5,
Yeah,
I heard.
Exactly. All right. So here's the deal. As Scott says, no one really knows, right? We're being told something. That's why I say everybody wants the truth. What happens to your life if you get the God's honest truth? Then what?
I don't know. We know what it looks like.
Your world's turned upside down,
Mhm.
inside out, and backwards, perhaps. And everything you may have known for your entirety, what you've been taught as a kid, what your parents taught you, everything ends up being a lie. Then what? Then what? What do you do? Bob says, who controls the gas in the United States? ? Although gas prices, especially where they sit now, are often assumed to be a force of political influence. They are actually governed by economic drivers and basic laws of supply and demand. So no, President Biden can't just push a button and let everyone pay $3 a gallon again. That is correct. And that's what I'm saying. The president doesn't have anything to do with of the United States of that. The president of oil companies, yes. Right? The president of the United States, no. Gas prices are determined OPEC, which is controlled by 13 members. Thank you, Salvador Villalobos, all the way from Dallas, Texas. Right. So as we're talking about, you can't handle the truth. Yes. And as I said earlier, the truth will kill you. Well, maybe not take your life away, so maybe kill, but it would change the entire perception of the world as you know it if you knew the truth.
The real truth, the basic laws of nature, you talked about gravity, you talked about physics. There are certain truths that have lived in this document. I can't think what it's called, but it says we have certain unalienable rights. Is that a truth? Right? And how a friend of mine, my cousin is one of the top 1% of the lawyers in the country, and we're having a conversation one time, and he says law is not about the truth; it's about which lawyer can
interpreting the truth,
interpret
the
law,
not truth,
to the advantage of their client or their
court of
purpose.
Yeah.
It's a court of lies.
It's a court of law.
I mean, everything in life really is about interpretation, guys. I mean, if you think about it.
Right. So we have no clue what the truth is.
It's a little bit different for everybody else, but I mean, the truth that, like you just pointed out, that Salvador pointed out, is OPEC is what he's saying is controlling the gas prices, which is controlled by 13 people, right? 13 people controlling the rest of what the world is doing.
13 countries.
Who can? What's the truth about that?
I got it.
Yep. So, Shayna says, your rebuild. What's that? You rebuild your thoughts, your thought process based on a truer reality. Maybe we stop cutting the roast to fit the pan we no longer use.
She's been listening way too long. Love you, Shayna. That is absolutely right. Until we can get back to the history of it. And if you're not familiar with the reference Shayna's talking about, the wife cuts the ends off the ham to put it in the pan, and the husband says, "Why do you do that?" He says, "I don't know. Mom did it. Let me ask her." And goes to mom. Mom says, "Grandma did it." And the girl finally asked grandma. She said, "Well, I didn't have a pan big enough for the ham, so I had to cut the ends off." Right? The truth was, we get involved in, we do it because it's the way it's always been done, and that almost never makes it right.
So there are certain truths, right? Gravity is a truth. God's grace is a truth. Jesus rose again as a truth, right?
Amen.
And if your heart stops for a certain amount of time, you will be dead, is a truth.
That's truth.
Right? When your brain stops functioning, you will no longer live.
That was about 5 minutes ago, and I'm right here. So
there are certain truths out there.
Yes.
Right. But here's and let's just take a look at public education. Right.
You don't want to know that truth.
The truth is, a lot of us went through public education, put our kids through public education. And what did public education teach us? What is the truth about education? The truth is that in the year 2022, we still sit in rows in classrooms. Why do we do that?
And we still line our kids up alphabetically by last name.
Right. So why do we do that? When did that start? We started that to prepare people to work in factories, to be lined up next to each other. That's why we have rows. Okay. And if you go way back, and even before the factory time, but you go way back into the single classrooms, they didn't have rows. However, if you go to a museum now, they're set up in rows because that is what we picture as a school. Because there was a one-room classroom, so you had people of every ages. So you had little bundles of people sitting everywhere. But what we're told is sit in these rows. 2022, we're still doing that. Why? Okay, so public education doesn't teach us how to think, teaches us what to think. And as long as you can recite and remember what to think on a test, you'll pass.
You talked about a situation when your daughter was in second grade, and she came home with a political viewpoint.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time?
Yeah.
Share a little bit of that.
Yeah. So this was when President Trump had just been elected and into office, and she comes back and something, I don't know what the conversation was, but little Lucy in the second grade says, Trump's an idiot. Here's this cute little second grader. Right, what is she, 6, 7? And I'm like, I'm skewed. What? And so I had to go and have a conversation with that teacher to say, listen, my second grade daughter should not have a political opinion about somebody. That's the president of the United States. You like him, love him, hate him. You respect that position as an American, right? And my second grade daughter, if she comes home with more political thought, I will end your career, because you're not here to teach them political ideology. You're here to teach them how to read, how to write their name, right? And that's the truth, right? So it's quite evident that what happens is, but we continue to say, yay, education, yay, education. Meanwhile, teachers who should be paid like doctors are being paid a minimum as they possibly can, while the superintendent is making hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what? Nothing. So you want to talk about a system and some truth that is mixed up and bad, has nothing to do with gas prices.
Maybe superintendents control gas prices.
Maybe they do, right? So, that's just the way it is. Public indoctrination is more like, yes, right? So that is it. What do we say here? Facts exist in reality, whereas truths are usually the things that one believes to be true, or the things that are true in the current situation.
Or many times the things we agree with. If we agree with it, it must be true.
Right. Gary says facts have no feelings. It's true.
It's true.
There's
That's
truth.
Well, like, truth. Like
so
truth.
You're going back to the education thing, guys. Yeah, most people don't want to know the truth about education and what the teachers are allowed to do and not do. I mean,
right. Okay, you're cutting out. Hang on.
Give it a second, Scott. Let's read what your dad says.
So Shana says that's why critical race theory and censorship is so topical. Yes, but again, we don't know the truth about both of those. Bob says you are on the outskirts of brainwashing, wherein brainwashing, also called what is it? Coercive
Coercive persuasion.
is a systematic effort to persuade non-believers to accept a certain allegiance, command, or doctrine. Hence, this now becomes their truth.
Right. If you teach a child that yellow is blue and green is red,
Yeah.
and they go to school and the teacher says yellow is yellow and green is green, the kid's like, no, that's not what I learned. That's not my
Right.
truth.
Right. Somebody who's colorblind, right?
Ooh.
Somebody who's colorblind is that's brown.
Yeah, that's a 50 Shades of Gray,
Right.
and that's a whole nother world.
And that's truth. That's their truth, right? What is blue to somebody who's blind, who is born blind, never seen blue?
Well, my grandson got in a big discussion with me because they were studying Helen Keller, and he's like, there is no way a person born blind and deaf could have learned and done all the things. Helen Keller's a scam.
Yeah.
Well,
And that was his truth.
I never met her, so I can't.
well, your truth is also part of your reality, right? I mean, how you were raised.
Yeah.
It sounds like a dance record.
Is that R2?
R2D2.
Is R2D2 out there, Scott? You're give it a few miles, Scott.
Right.
Hopefully you'll come back in.
That's right. So look at how riled up we are about truth.
Right.
And look at the differences and the passion behind it. That's why I say you can't handle the truth. Because if you were to say to me and prove that 2 + 2 is 5, after all these years that I've said no, 2 + 2 is 4, my world would be upside down. Wait, what? Whoa, what? Right? Because if that was now true, right? So how do you? We search for it. We want it. Hey, be truthful to me. You don't want. Right? You just don't want the truth.
I agree. I'm definitely not disagreeing with you.
And many people couldn't handle.
Well, I don't think
truth.
any of us could handle the especially on perceived truths. You talked about math. Math has very finite laws.
Yeah.
And it's been proved 2 apples plus 2 apples equals 4 apples. When you get into quantum, my son was in college, and I've always been a decent mathematician, but he went into quantum mathematics, and I almost lost half my brain trying to understand quantum mathematics.
Right.
So,
I don't know. You better read that one. There's some big words there.
Heterodox Academy is trying to shed light on the pervasiveness of shutting down conversation on campuses. A bully factor of someone dictating truth is dubious for sure.
I'm not following, but okay. Help us out there, Shannon.
He's trying to
Jen,
shed
look
light.
at Jen's got some stuff to say. Jen, good morning. Maybe a topic for another cosmic disclosure type show, but in the last 100 years, how much has the combustion engine changed? We're pouring gas in cars. We've seen material sciences advance like crazy, iPhones, laptops, current technology, but they've, quote unquote, kept all technologies of travel completely secret. Why could chemistry and engineering of materials grow so quickly and still be using 1800s technology to drive around? So who's controlling the non-release of higher technology that was brought to us? It's a good point. Because in the 70s, when we talked about the year 2000 and you did a time capsule, remember the time capsules as kids, hey, this will be open to the year 2000. And we thought it was going to be Jetsonish.
Right, flying cars.
Yeah, crazy. Right?
Which are now.
Which are. At one point, people's truth was disabled people belong in institutions. If that were true, I would not be living a productive life. Ted, I know you, and no, I'm just kidding.
But you're absolutely right, Ted.
That's right. Yeah, right. Freaks. They were weird, right? Forced peer pressure to get along, even among professors, right? So here's the deal. The deal is this.
That sounds so much like Hitler. I mean, it really does.
Can you guys hear me? Am I back on?
Yeah.
Okay. So the truth is about education and it's sad to say, but the teachers are teaching kids to take tests and to pass those tests. They're not teaching these kids how to learn. Okay, at least in how I see it and how I understand things.
Wait, hold on though. You said the truth is, and then you backed off and said, "Well, at least how I see it." So which is it?
Well, the truth that I understand and I believe, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I preface it that way, is that, and I know quite a few teachers, is that it's not about getting these kids to learn. It's about getting them to pass so they get their funding. Yep. They have to have a certain amount of, the grades have to be a certain level in order for them to receive funding from the government to continue moving on, which is just freaking asinine. And it irritates me. And it shows, because these kids today don't have, a lot of kids these days don't have an original thought, or,
well, there are no original thoughts.
There's no more original thoughts. And, they're not striving to be anything. They're just existing. They're not teaching these kids how to want to bloom in life and to blossom, to excel, right? They're just, this is what you have to do. Why? Well, that's because that's what I'm telling you to do.
Scott, you know what I've done for the last 45 years, right?
Absolutely, Coach.
I've coached in the scholastic environment, and I 100% disagree with you on this. Now, this core curriculum, I hate it. It's absolutely stupid. And is there some point to teaching kids to pass? Yes. There are some amazing young people out here who are doing great things. And I'm not talking about one or two in each school. I'm talking about the DECA programs. I'm talking about schools. McHenry Schools is really taken a leap forward in the education process for what's happening right here in McHenry. Now, core curriculum, I think, is the dumbest thing that ever came around. Teaching these kids, they have to know math, science, and English, and they've stopped teaching kids about life and other issues, and they're expecting the families to do that. Well, that's not happening at home, because the families are out, both parents are out working and doing things, and the interaction around the dinner table is almost non-existent. But young people, if given an opportunity, will impress the crap out of you. We can't stop and say that the kids are all, and put them in a stereotypical generation.
I'm not boxing them all in, but as a general rule of thumb, Coach, it's not about individuality. They're not teaching kids to be individuals and to want to learn and to strive to learn. They're teaching, this is what you need to know, and this is why you need to know it, and don't question me on that, and then move forward. Right? They're not saying question everything like I do. And why do you need to know that? Well, because that's what the government told me. Why? Okay. I have no interest in that, for example.
Scott, do you feel that America is the greatest nation on earth?
We are the greatest nation on earth, but we are definitely.
Are you?
Answer the question, Counselor.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you believe we're the greatest nation on earth because of our freedom?
No.
Okay. But you push for freedom.
I push for independence. I don't think there is such a thing anymore, guys, as freedom. We have a perceived what's the word? We're being duped in the fact that we actually are the land of the free and the home of the brave. We're brave, but we're not anywhere near as free as people think we are. It's a perceived thing. We're freer than a lot of other countries. We have more opportunities, but we're not free by any means. It's okay. Here he said it. Freedom is an illusion to a certain point.
Jen said that. Ted says our government doesn't care if kids pass the tests. Even they created No Child Left Behind to make it harder to hold kids back a grade. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. Then you said it, and it's very interesting to me. Throughout this whole conversation, what we've heard a lot is government control, gas prices, government control, education, government control. Well, we're a lot freer than most countries.
We are a lot freer than most countries.
Oh, you can't say that.
We are a lot freer than most countries.
Many people's whole argument today was government's got their hands in stuff. If the government dictates that much of your life, you're not free. And you're not freer than any other country that's out there. Right? So the truth is, there is no truth.
You can't handle it.
There is no truth.
Is there only a perceived reality then?
There's what you believe and what your thoughts allow you to believe, but there is no truth. Right? I mean, there's people who are like, hell yeah, we went to the moon. Oh, really? That's interesting. Why isn't there any dust on the landing gear? Why isn't there a big hole blown into the underneath the rocket ship because the thrusters had to be on? Because when the boot went into that sand, it left a deep print. How is that? Oh, wait a minute. Whoops. Right? But we went to the moon. Hey, you know, oh, it was one gunman who killed President Kennedy. It was a miracle bullet that went through there. Yet his brain splattered back onto the trunk. Oh, that's an interesting truth, isn't it? So the reality of what we're saying is, and why I say you can't handle it, everybody searches for it, can't handle it, it doesn't exist. It does not exist. And now we're hearing about the Mandela effect, how things have changed, and we're an alternate timeline. Perhaps we are. People say that in 2012 we all died instantaneously, and now we're on a different journey.
Ooh.
Right?
Scott's clearly on a journey.
So yeah. So the bottom line is perhaps there's no truth. Perhaps. Right? Let's see what here. What do we say here, Ted? Real quickly on the back end of things, the teachers get credit for where the children are today, and the parents get credit for doing the best they can to instill good values and education from their past experiences.
Thanks, Ted. Well said.
Humanity needs to demand and protest for the knowledge and education that is out there. I think no government will stand up and give out information until you demand it. Bob says perception becomes reality. Can't we go? We can go all day with Mandela effect theories. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. So yes, you can dig and dig and dig and dig and dig for the truth. I don't think it exists.
Will you ever get closer?
I don't think it exists.
So the truth is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
The truth is God's grace. Simple as that. That's the only truth I can come up with. And there'll be questioned by people who don't believe in God who watch this show, which is fine. But that's the only truth I know is God's grace and mercy.
So that's the truth. When Jesus says, and the truth shall set you free.
From what?
You know what I just realized the truth is?
What?
I got a turkey neck. That's the truth. You can see it.
Yeah, that's funny.
The truth
and the truth will set you free.
You guys, and I appreciate everything you guys do. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate everybody challenging me and making me think differently. And that's what I hope I do to a lot of other people in this world is I challenge them to think differently, to search for their truth. Right?
The truth is it's April 1st and this show didn't even happen. April Fools.
April Fool.
April Fool.
And if the CIA, FBI are going to storm in here because we were speaking too much truth, come back in about 30 minutes for bridging civil tension for the slap heard around the world. We're going to talk about that because it has caused some tension. The truth is we got to run. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the grounds with Giles and Joe's. Giles en route, just out there having fun. Deidre, thanks for driving and keeping him safe through this. Scott, have a blessed day. Good luck. Love you guys, and look forward to you guys getting back.
Those who know my wife is April, so this is my day. I am April's fool. God bless. Travel safe.
All right. For all of us here, 20.
All right, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Adios.